What's something only kids who grew up poor would understand? When I was in third grade, our teacher announced we'd be going on a field trip to the Science Museum. The room lit up with excitement. Kids started chatting about what they'd see, what they'd bring, who they'd sit next to on the bus. Everyone was thrilled except me. I knew what field trips meant. It meant permission slips with price tags. This one was $15. That might not sound like much, but to us it was grocery money. I didn't need to ask my mom. I already knew she couldn't afford it. Still, I brought the form home. It was what you did. I handed it to her without saying a word and went to my room. Later that night, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the permission slip like it was a bill she couldn't pay. She sifted through unopened mail, bills, collection notices, late fees, silently doing the math in her head. After a long pause, she looked at me and said, "I'll figure it out, baby." I knew what that meant. She'd skip meals, walk to work instead of taking the bus, buy the cheap cereal instead of the kind we liked. Figure it out always meant a quiet kind of sacrifice. She never complained. She just adjusted. The next day at school, Ms. Wilson asked who hadn't turned in their slips. I raised my hand along with two other kids. She sighed and said to stay after class. When the bell rang and the others filed out, she asked the first two why they hadn't brought theirs. They mumbled something about forgetting. Then she turned to me. I swallowed hard. "My mom doesn't have the money right now," I whispered. Her expression softened instantly. The teacher mask came off, and for a second, she just looked like someone who understood. She didn't say much, just nodded and thanked me for being honest. Then she walked the other two kids to the hallway. When she returned, she handed me a sealed envelope. "Give this to your mom," she said gently. That night, my mom opened it at the kitchen table. Inside was a simple note. "Congratulations. Your child has won a spot on our field trip through a random classroom drawing. No payment is needed. We're so excited to have them join us." There was no drawing. My mom knew it. I knew it. She stared at the note for a while, then folded it carefully, almost like it was something sacred. She didn't say anything, just wiped her eyes and wrote a thank you note. I tucked it into my backpack the next morning. I went on the trip, rode the bus, ate lunch with my friends, walked through exhibits, and watched a science show, and laughed. Pretended not to know what that envelope had really been. Years later, after I became a teacher myself, I found out the full story. Ms. Wilson had been covering field trip costs out of her own pocket for years. Dozens of random winners. Always one or two each trip. Never announced, never acknowledged. Not even the principal knew. She just did it quietly because she remembered what it felt like to be the kid who couldn't go. Now I keep an envelope in my desk labeled Field Trip Fund. It's just a few bills at a time. Sometimes I slip in a 20, sometimes a little more when I can. I don't advertise it, but it's there, ready to make sure one of my kids never has to raise their hand when the class is buzzing with excitement and say, "I forgot." When what they really mean is, we can't. Because if you grew up poor, the hardest part isn't missing the trip. It's having to explain why, story 2. At the barbecue, my wife joked, "Who wants to trade my husband?" Her divorced neighbor replied, "I'll take him." Her smile vanished when the neighbor added, "When should I pick him up?" I should have known something was off when my wife started guarding her phone like nuclear launch codes. Years of marriage, and suddenly Farron needs Face ID to check her messages. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to where this whole thing started unraveling. Last Saturday's neighborhood barbecue at the Cooper's place. I was doing what I always do at these things. Flying my drone around, getting some sick aerial footage of the neighborhood. It's what I do for a living. Drone cinematography for real estate and events, so people are used to me having my controller out. Kids love watching the feed on my phone screen. Adults pretend they're not checking if their backyard looks messy from above. Far was in her element, holding court near the grill with her latest batch of homemade macaron, pastry chef at a boutique patisserie downtown. She always brought something that made everyone else's potato salad look pathetic. She was laughing with our neighbor, Blakely, the divorced florist who lived 3 houses down. Blakely ran this high-end wedding flower business, always talking about her celebrity clients and destination setups. I was adjusting my drone's gimbal when I heard it. "God, these ribs are going to ruin my diet," Far laughed, tossing a picked clean bone onto her plate. "Who wants to trade my husband for someone who will eat my carbs for me?" Normal wife joke, right? Except Blakely's response made my blood slow down. "I'll take him." She wasn't laughing. Dead serious tone, looking right at me. Then the smile came, practiced and sharp. "When should I pick him up?" The whole group laughed. Far laughed loudest. But there was something in the way their eyes met, like actors hitting their marks. I filmed enough events to know the difference between spontaneous moments and rehearsed ones. This had the smell of rehearsal all over it. Franklin wouldn't last a day with you, B, Farah said, using that nickname I'd never heard before. You'd have him organizing your flower coolers by color gradient. More laughter. I smiled for the photos someone was taking. Inside, something cold was spreading through my chest. The rest of the barbecue, I watched them. Really watched. Not through my drone feed, through my actual eyes. The way Blakely kept finding reasons to touch Far's arm. How they developed this whole shorthand communication system I'd never noticed. When did my wife start calling her B that night? Far was wired, talking fast about the party, about her upcoming pastry competition, about maybe repainting the kitchen. She showered twice. Once when we got home, again before bed. New expensive body wash she said she got from some promotion at work. You okay? I asked as she climbed into bed. Phone clutched in her hand. Perfect. Just tired. These 12-hour shifts are killing me. But Pierre says I'm close to getting the sous chef position. Pierre. Her boss, who looked like a French bulldog and had the personality to match, right? I pretended to fall asleep. Far scrolled her phone with the brightness turned way down, thinking I couldn't see. She was deleting texts as fast as she was reading them. My film-trained peripheral vision caught every swipe. At 2:07 a.m., her phone buzzed. Just once, a text. She grabbed it so fast she almost dropped it. The preview flashed for maybe 2 seconds before she swiped it away. But 2 seconds is an eternity when you're trained to catch details in single frames. Can't wait for pickup day. Winking face emoji. She deleted it immediately, then deleted it from her recently deleted, then cleared her browser history for some reason. The whole sequence took maybe 30 seconds, but she did it like she'd done it a H 100 times before. My wife, who needed my help to attach files to emails, was suddenly a digital forensics expert. She put the phone face down on her nightstand and rolled toward me. I kept my breathing steady, deep, fake, asleep, perfect. Her hand touched my shoulder, testing. When I didn't react, she rolled back over. I lay there in the dark, processing what I'd just seen. Pickup day. The rehearsed joke at the barbecue. The way Blakely had said I'll take him like it was already decided. My phone was on my nightstand, still paired to my drone's cloud storage. Hours of 4K footage from today's barbecue, including audio from the directional mic. Tomorrow, I'd start reviewing everything frame by frame if I had to. Something was coming and they thought I was flying too high to see it. They were wrong. Sunday morning, Far left for an emergency at the patisserie. Apparently, Pierre needed all hands for some food critic surprise visit. She kissed my forehead on her way out. First time she'd done that in months instead of the usual lips. Perfect. I needed the house empty for what came next. I pulled up yesterday's drone footage on my editing setup. 3 monitors, color-calibrated, the works. Started with wide shots, then worked my way through the close-ups. The directional mic on my setup is broadcast quality, picks up conversations from 50 FT if the wind's right there. 3:47 p.m. timestamp. Blakely and Farah by the dessert table thinking they were out of earshot. Told you he wouldn't notice. Blakely's voice crystal clear. He notices everything through that stupid camera. Never notices what's right in front of him. Far's laugh was different. Meaner, how's your special project coming? The arrangements are almost complete. 2 more weeks and we can stop pretending. Arrangements, florist talk, or something else. I kept scrubbing through footage. Found 17 separate instances of them meeting up during the party. Always when I was distracted with the drone or talking to someone else, they developed a whole system. Far would touch her earring. Blakely would check her phone. Then they'd coincidentally need drinks at the same time. But I needed more than party footage. I needed real evidence. Far's iPad was still logged into our shared iCloud. I opened it, went to Safari. She'd cleared the history but not the website data. Rookie mistake. The autofill cache showed recent entries. HiltonGardenBooking.com, ProtonMail.com, Zelt transfer history. State divorce forms, PDF. My chest tightened. I screen capped everything. Proton Mail encrypted email service. I tried various password combinations based on what I knew about Farah. Nothing. Then on a hunch, I tried Pickup 14, the text from last night. I was in the inbox was sparse, but damning. 12 emails between Fnuvo at Proton Mail and Arrange Monsby at Proton Mail. The subject lines alone made my hands shake. Timeline review, asset division, strategy, documentation updates, his patterns updated. The last one had an attachment. FranklinChedrel.xlsx. They'd been tracking my movements when I left for shoots, how long jobs typically ran, which days I worked from home. It went back 3 months. I forwarded everything to my own encrypted account before she could delete it. Then I got creative. Farah's car, technically our car, both names on the title. I had every right to know what happened in it. I grabbed my backup field recorder, the tiny one I use for scratch audio, and tucked it under her driver's seat. Voice-activated 48-hour battery life. While I was at it, I checked her car's GPS history through the manufacturer's app. 3 trips to the same address in the last week. Not the pedicary. I mapped it. A boutique hotel downtown, the one that rents rooms by the hour, but dresses it up fancy. Monday came. Far left at 6 a.m. for her early shift. The recorder went with her. I worked from home, editing a wedding video while waiting. At 2 p.m., I retrieved the device while she was supposedly at work. My hands were steady as I uploaded the audio. This is what I do. Capture moments, edit them, find the story in the footage. 20 minutes in, I found gold. Farah's voice, he's so predictable. Films on Tuesdays and Thursdays, edits the rest. We could do this blindfolded. Blakely, the paperwork's ready. My lawyer says with what we've documented, he won't have a leg to stand on. You're sure the ring footage looks convincing? Edited it myself. 3 separate incidents of him aggressively approaching my door. Amazing what you can do with creative cropping. And the bruises photographed well. Makeup artist friend from the wedding circuit. They look 3 days old. Perfect yellowing. She thinks it's for a crime show audition. My blood turned to ice water. They weren't just planning to leave me. They were planning to destroy me. After pickup on the 14th, he won't know what hit him. Blakely continued. The restraining order papers are already drawn up. We file them on the 15th bright and early. The neighbors will eat it up. Poor Far stuck with that controlling husband who finally snapped. They both laughed. Actually laughed about destroying my life. But then Blakely said something that changed everything. Morrison's flight is confirmed. Lands at 2 p.m. on the 14th. You sure Franklin won't be home? I already booked him a phantom real estate shoot in Riverside. He'll be gone all day chasing a client that doesn't exist. Morrison? Who the hell was Morrison? Morrison? The name rattled around my skull while I sat in my office surrounded by evidence that my life was a lie. I pulled up Blakely's social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, the whole digital footprint. Started digging through her connections, looking for any Morrison. Nothing obvious, but then I found it buried in the comments of a year-old Instagram post about her fresh start after divorce. So proud of you, B. Can't wait to see what you and FM build together. Bouquet emoji.fm replied with just a heart emoji. The account was private. Profile pic showed hands arranging roses, no face. I ran the username through a reverse search. Found a florist convention attendee list from 2023. Morrison F. Botanical Designs LLC registered out of Colorado. This wasn't just an affair. This was a business merger with my life as collateral damage. I needed more. The kind of evidence that would hold up anywhere, court, neighborhood, gossip circle, wherever this landed. I started building my case like I was editing a documentary. Every clip needed context, verification, backup. Tuesday, I took a legitimate drone job, aerials, for a new condo development. While I was gone, I'd given Far the perfect opportunity to move freely. But I'd prepared. My old GoPro, the one she thought died last summer, was very much alive and tucked behind our wedding photo on the bookshelf. Motion activated, focused on the home office where she'd been spending her menu planning time. When I got home, Farah was all smiles and homemade dinner. Coq au vin, my favorite. The effort would have been touching if I hadn't known it was guilt cooking. How was the shoot? She asked, plating the food with chef precision. Boring condos, same boxes, different zip code. I kept my voice steady. How was your day? Crazy at the shop. Pierre had us remake an entire wedding cake because the bride changed her mind about fondant versus buttercream. Pierre I'd called the patisserie on my way home. Pierre had been in Napa all week at a wine pairing conference. After dinner, Far went to shower. I pulled the GoPro footage. She'd been in the office for 3 hours on the phone most of it, though the audio was muffled, but she'd left papers on the desk, visible when she stood up. I zoomed in. Enhanced bank statements, but not ours. New accounts I didn't know existed. $47,000 moved over the last 4 months. Small transfers labeled catering supplies and equipment upgrades. She'd been bleeding our accounts dry, and I'd been too busy trusting my wife to notice. Wednesday brought the breakthrough. Far left her gym bag in the hallway when she rushed out for another emergency. I'd never seen her take that bag to any gym. Inside, under yoga pants she'd never worn, was a second phone, a burner. The password was pathetically simple. Our wedding date like she wanted the irony. The texts between her and Blakely went back 7 months. The progression was all there, starting with complaints about me escalating to active planning. But the real revelation was a conversation from last month. Blakely did exactly this with my ex. Trust the process. Far still feel guilty sometimes. Blakely, check your account. Guilt's expensive. I'm paying you enough to get over it. Farah just transferred another $5K. How many more, Blakely? 2 more months of deposits and it'll look like you saved it from your side work. Judge won't question it. They'd manufactured an entire false financial history. Farah was being paid to destroy our marriage. I photographed everything, uploaded it all to 3 different cloud services. Then I found the thread that made my blood run completely cold. A message from 2 days ago. Blakely Morrison's bringing the paperwork. Prenup's smart this time. Farah already told Franklin. I want to renew our vows for our anniversary. He'll be so focused on that he won't see the divorce papers coming. Blakely savage. I love it. The restraining order will be filed same day. By the time he knows what hit him, he'll be locked out of his own house. Far our house soon. Morrison's going to love the office space for the new business. They weren't just taking my wife and my money. They were taking my house, my reputation, and planning to hand it all to some stranger from Colorado. The last message was from this morning. Blakely got the tickets, 3 seats, return flight on the 20th, you, me, and Morrison. Fresh start, 3 tickets. They were all leaving together after destroying me. I sat back in my chair, burner phone in my hand. They thought they'd won, thought they'd mapped out every move, predicted every reaction, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd given me a date and a timeline. The 14th was 9 days away. Days to flip their own game against them. 9 days. I worked backwards from their doomsday, building my counterstrike, like planning a complex shoot. Every angle covered, backup plans for the backup plans. First, I needed professional help. Found Dimitri through a cinematographer friend who'd gone through ugly divorce. Dimitri was a data recovery specialist who usually worked corporate espionage cases. Expensive, but when I showed him what I had, he gave me the wrong spouse discount. They're amateurs, he said, scrolling through Blakely's deleted Instagram messages I couldn't access. She thinks archiving hides things. Watch this. In 30 minutes, he'd pulled 2 years of deleted conversations, including ones with her ex-husband from 2021. Same exact playbook. False abuse claims, staged evidence, financial manipulation. The ex was now living in his mother's basement in Jersey. Reputation destroyed. Can you recover deleted Ring doorbell footage? I asked. Already did. Here's the fun part. The unedited versions are all cached on their server. See? He pulled up the footage. She crops out the parts where she approaches your house first, rings the bell, then backs up to make it look like you're charging at her. Gold, pure gold. Thursday, I acted the perfect mark. Came home talking excitedly about the Riverside shoot on the 14th. Big money, I told Farah. Commercial property developer wants aerials of 12 properties. All day gig. Her eyes lit up. That's amazing, babe. I'll pack you lunch. She'd never packed me lunch. Not once in 8 years. That night, while she slept, I scheduled my own meetings. Neighborhood Association Board convenes monthly. Next meeting was the 13th. I emailed the president about needing 15 minutes to discuss security concerns affecting multiple residents. Approved. Friday was recon. I drove to Blakely's flower shop, parked across the street, and used my telephoto lens. Not for photos, for observation. She had 3 employees. 2 were college kids who couldn't care less. The third was Molly, an older woman who'd been there since before Blakely bought the place. I went in wearing my baseball cap low, pretending to shop for an apology bouquet. While Blakely was in the back, Molly helped me. Been working here long? I asked, playing dumb. 22 years through 3 owners. This latest one. She stopped herself. What kind of apology are we talking about? The kind where I screwed up bad. She laughed, but it was bitter. Well, don't do what the last guy who came in here did. Poor bastard's ex-wife took him for everything. Still sends flowers to his kids from here because she got his house in the divorce. Blakely gives him a discount out of guilt, I think. Bingo. The ex still used the shop. Saturday, I baited the trap. Started acting paranoid, checking Far's phone when she left it out, knowing she'd notice, asking too many questions about her schedule. Being just unstable enough to make them overconfident. It worked. That night, I heard her on the burner in the bathroom whispering, "He's losing it." This is perfect. Keep documenting everything. Sunday, Far suggested couples therapy. The performance was Oscar-worthy. Concerned wife, tears and everything. I agreed. Played devastated. Said I'd been stressed about work. Promised to do better. She actually smirked when she turned away. I saw it in the hallway mirror. Monday the 10th, I pulled the trigger on phase 1. Called Molly at the flower shop, said I was a documentary filmmaker working on a piece about small business resilience. Would she do an on-camera interview about the shop's history? Paid, of course. She agreed immediately. We scheduled for the 12th. Tuesday, Blakely made their fatal mistake. She sent Farah a voice note through the burner's WhatsApp. Farah played it in her car, not knowing my recorder was still there. Everything's set. F. Morrison lands at 2:15. I'll pick him up while you keep Franklin chasing ghosts in Riverside. By the time he figures out the client doesn't exist, we'll have the papers filed, locks changed, and restraining order in place. The whole neighborhood will know by dinner what kind of man he really is. Oh, and baby, Morrison says he can't wait to meet you properly. Says the photos don't do you justice. My wife giggled. Actually giggled like a teenager, but the kicker came at the end. His real name's Frederick Morrison, by the way. But he goes by Freddie. Freddie Morrison sounds better than Franklin Russo for the business cards. Don't you think? They weren't just replacing me. They were literally replacing my name on everything we'd built. I saved the audio file in 17 different locations. Tomorrow was the 12th. Molly's interview in the morning. Then I had one more stop, the courthouse, where Frederick Morrison's criminal record from Colorado was waiting to be discovered. Turns out Blakely's business partner had his own buried secrets. The Colorado courthouse records were a gold mine. Frederick Morrison arrested twice for fraud. Charges dropped both times after victims mysteriously withdrew complaints. His MO romance scams targeting divorced women with businesses. Classic con artist, and Blakely was either his partner or his next mark. Wednesday morning the 12th. Molly's interview at the flower shop went exactly as planned. While setting up my camera, I casually mentioned how divorce can destroy small businesses. Don't I know it, Molly said, adjusting her mic. The owner before Blakely, sweet woman, lost everything in her divorce. Then Blakely's ex-husband, same story. Poor guy came in last week, actually warned me to watch my back. Said Blakely's got a pattern. Really? What kind of pattern? Finding people's weaknesses, documenting everything out of context, then destroying them legally. He showed me texts where she bragged about it. I've been looking for another job since. I kept the camera rolling. Would you be willing to share those texts? She pulled out her phone. He sent me screenshots in case I needed them for my own protection. The texts were from 2021. Blakely to someone named FM, just like we did in Denver. This idiot won't know what hit him, Frederick Morrison. They'd been running this con for years. That afternoon, I had everything packaged and ready. USB drives with all evidence, organized by category, financial fraud, staged evidence, criminal history, pattern of behavior. Made 12 copies, Thursday the 13th. The neighborhood association meeting was at 7 p.m. Far left for work at 3, kissing me goodbye with those lying lips. Don't wait up, we have a huge order tonight. I arrived at the meeting early, connected my laptop to the projection system, told Glenn, the association president, I had concerning evidence about a pattern of fraud affecting multiple residents. The room filled up. 23 neighbors, all eager for the monthly gossip disguised as community business. Blakely walked in at 6:45, casual as could be, sat in the back, scrolling her phone. At 7:15, Glenn gave me the floor. I'm here about a security threat that's affected at least 3 families in our neighborhood. I started clicking to my first slide. A pattern of deliberate fraud, staged evidence, and financial manipulation. Blakely's head snapped up. Let me play you something recorded in my own car. I hit play on the audio. Farr and Blakely's voices filled the room, laughing about the fake bruises, the edited doorbell footage, their plan to destroy me. The room went dead silent. This isn't just about my marriage, I continued, showing the evidence of Blakely's ex-husband, the previous flower shop owner, the connection to Morrison's Colorado frauds. This is about a serial predator operating in our neighborhood. Blakely stood up. This is ridiculous. Those recordings are obviously fake. Are they? I clicked to the next slide. The unedited ring footage played, clearly showing her approaching my house first, then backing up to create the aggressive approach angle. Gasps around the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." She did the same thing to her ex-husband. Molly's voice came through the speakers. Her recorded interview destroyed him with false accusations. Blakely's face went white. She grabbed her purse, headed for the door, running to warn Farah. I called out, She's not at the pedicary. I know because Pierre's been in Napa all week. Just like I know Frederick Morrison lands tomorrow at 2:15. She froze at the door. Oh, you didn't know I knew his full name or about his fraud arrests in Colorado? The victims who mysteriously withdrew their complaints after being threatened? The room erupted. Questions, accusations, people pulling out phones to record. Blakely fled. Glenn banged his gavel for order. Mr. Russo, this is extraordinary. We need to contact the authorities. Already done, I said. Detective Ramirez has copies of everything. She's particularly interested in the financial fraud. My phone buzzed. Farah, in all caps, what did you do? Then another. We need to talk now. And another. This isn't what you think. I packed up my laptop, thanked the room, and headed home. Let her sweat. Let her panic. Let her feel what I'd felt for the last 2 weeks. When I pulled into my driveway, Farah's car was already there. But she wasn't alone. A man was sitting in her passenger seat. Tall, sandy hair, expensive suit. My phone buzzed one more time. From Far Franklin, meet Freddie Morrison. He's got something you need to hear about Blakely. I stopped cold in my driveway. Morrison stepped out of the car, hands raised like surrender. Mr. Russo, we need to talk. Blakely's been playing us all. I kept my hand near my phone, ready to call 911. Start talking. You've got 30 seconds before I call the cops. Morrison pulled out his wallet, showed me a PI license. Frederick Morrison, private investigator. Blakely's ex-husband hired me 6 months ago to prove what she did to him. I've been building a case. The fraud arrests, I asked. My cover identity for a federal sting 5 years ago. Public record got mixed with the sealed files. Blakely found the arrests, but not the context. He turned to Farah. Show him the real messages. Farah's hands shook as she pulled out her actual phone, not the burner. She opened a hidden folder in her photos. Screenshots going back months. Messages from Blakely that I'd never seen on the burner. If you don't play along, I'll destroy you too. Remember what I have on you from Vegas. Your husband's getting suspicious. Convince him or I release everything. Transfer another $5,000 or the photos go to Pierre. My wife was sobbing now. That weekend bachelorette party in Vegas last year. I got drunk, too drunk. Woke up in photos I don't even remember taking. Blakely had them all. Said she was just being a good friend, keeping me from embarrassment. Then 3 months ago, she started the blackmail. Morrison pulled out a tablet. I've documented everything. Blakely's done this to 7 women across 3 states. She finds something on them, forces them to help destroy their husbands, then takes a cut of the divorce settlement. Your wife was victim number 8. The $47,000 I asked? Blakely's commission force transfer she made far label as business expenses. I tracked every cent. Farah grabbed my arm. The affair story was all fake. Those hotel bookings, Blakely made me create them for evidence. I'd check in, she'd take photos of me entering, then I'd leave through the back. The whole thing was staged. Franklin, I never cheated. I couldn't let those photos get out. My career, my family. Morrison nodded. The plan B was if you caught on too early, I'd show up as the affair partner. Make it look real. But really, I was gathering evidence. Every interaction's been recorded for the investigation. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked Far. She said she'd know. Said she had our house bugged, our cars tracked. Said, if I breathed wrong, the photos would be everywhere before I could explain. I was terrified. My phone exploded with texts. Glenn from the association, neighbors, everyone who'd been at the meeting. Blakely had disappeared. Her shop was closed, her apartment empty. Morrison made a call. She's running. Yeah, probably the airport. No, she doesn't know we have her accounts frozen. Perfect. He hung up. Federal marshals will grab her at TSA wire fraud across state lines, extortion, blackmail. She's looking at 20 years minimum. I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. The weight she'd been carrying. The fear I'd mistaken for guilt.